Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I'm glad you stopped by. Remember to subscribe when you're still here and watch other videos that I've done in the past, and I hope you get to enjoy. But most importantly, I hope you leave some comments on the comment section so that you can be able to let me know what you enjoyed the most, what you would love to have not seen, or what you'd want me to improve on. For those who have been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate you. And today we're gonna do a video speaking about social media and COVID-19 and what have been the highs of it, what have been the lows of it, what have been like everything that has made social media what it is during this time. And yeah, so let's just basically get into the video. Like I said, if you're new here, remember to subscribe, remember to tell a friend to subscribe, and yeah, I'm happy to have you here and I'm happy you stopped by. So since COVID-19 started early this year, even though us as a country, we got to only begin speaking about it somewhere around March. But the rest of the world was already in a catastrophic situation where people were dying. When it started, initially would hear how huge numbers of people were dying in Italy, and then it got to place like huge numbers of people started dying in places like New York and everything. And for people like me who don't necessarily commit to things like sitting down to watch news, and I know most of the time when I say this, people say, but you're a communications person, how do you get to know all these things and everything? I prefer reading. I prefer going online to read stuff and everything. So I was never keen. I've never been keen, mainly because watching news has over time for me become a very depressing thing. When you watch news, up to 80% of the news stories and articles are news about abuse. It could be a girl has been defiled or raped. It could be a woman has been chopped to death. It could be in rare instances a man who has been killed by his. It is just sad news. And for a long time I would just watch but not say anything. But over time I got to realize that it kind of triggered me. I'd watch a lot of news and I'd feel really angry and really I wouldn't have anything nice to say about anything, and it felt horrendous to find myself in that situation over and over again. I am a human rights defender. It's definite that I interact with that type of information all the time. Already, what I do makes me interact with with that type of information all the time. So, considering homes are supposed to be that safe space, that place you can be able to go back and just sit and say, this is a place where I can choose what I'm watching. I can be able to just be peaceful and calm, and for a moment there, just breathe. It became too much to just aspire to just sit and watch news. And so, because of that, I read a lot to keep myself abreast with the things that are going on, to be able to know what is happening across the world. I feel like when you want to come up with innovations and amazing things to do to make the world a better place, then you have to be able to know what is going on in the world. Only then will you be able to identify the gap between what is happening and what needs to happen. And so I watch a bit of YouTube videos. I read news. I read news articles on different issues broadly. I never limit myself to what I read, really. So there's that. Now, after COVID took root in Kenya, especially, we had a lot of unverified information that kept on being spread from left, right, and center, especially on social media platforms. And I would say that, for me, if you ask me, has contributed hugely to how people have been affected by COVID-19. While we have people who have been infected with COVID-19, the effects have been even more gross and more magnified, in the sense that many people read a lot of things, and then we have people who don't know how. Many people do not know how to sit to just read something and then sit and process it, or just go online and do research about it to verify. It has become a really huge problem, how people would read things on social media and never go an extra mile to verify that information, so they can be able to know if what they're reading is true or not. And so there was a lot of spread of false information, fake news, if you may. And this definitely affected a lot of people. So people were struggling not only with the fear, the grappling fear of COVID-19, but also just not knowing, do I have it, do I not have it, how can I know? And then, we live in a shady, fucked up system where if you want to know if you have contracted uh, COVID-19, then you have to go get tested, and that's a bill that's on you. And COVID-19 came with a lot of things. It came with people losing their jobs. It came with people not working anymore. It came with people having pay cuts, because then with social distancing, with quarantining, with all these things that came with COVID-19, especially the first month, rendered a lot of people uncomfortable, really, because they had to now begin doing things in a more strained way, if you may, in a way that is not necessarily what they're used to as a routine, because then you can't, especially for people who made income on the go, where you wake up in the morning, you go make income, and then you come back home, and that's what you're going to use to say buy food and everything. It became really hard for these people to do that, because already it's trained enough that they always have to leave the house to make money for that day. And then we have people have this thing where they live according to what they earn. Well, not many people live beyond their means, but for those who do live within their means, then people most of the time live according to their salaries, according to what they're paid, according to what they make in their businesses and everything. But when COVID came, it destabilized all that, because then more time at home. During this period, we are always expecting kids to be in school. Early, when COVID started, kids should have been in school, and then in April they should have been home for holidays and everything, Easter holidays and everything, and then now they would have already gone back to school. But COVID decided, no, we ain't doing none of that, Linda. So because of that, our students are still staying at home. That means the burden to feed families has become even larger, because then when parents pay school fees, kids are able to stay in school, especially boarding students, which of course the high population of Kenyan students are in boarding schools. So they would definitely stay at home. They would definitely stay in school and be able to get food and everything. And even if at home things are really tight, parents don't worry much about that, because then at least they're sure their kids are not going to bed hungry. So there's that. But now when kids are at home, there's a strenuous thing that is happening, where now they have to feed more mouths than they normally did, and then they still have to pay rent because they can't afford to be homeless because COVID. And then with these kids being at, like, literally, it's just trying to make life as normal as possible for these kids, as it always is when they're home and not in school. And so that means spending a little bit more money, more than you've already spent, because then when kids are already in school, it means you had already spent money to take them to school. So there is that. And because of that, now, of course, it became really, really hard and complicated for many people. And that's why many people are going hungry. Many people are sleeping without eating food. Not because they have an option, really, because the situation is what it is. And then lucky for us, recently most of the workplaces have gone back to work and everything, and that is probably going to help stabilize things. But as it is now, it's really, really, really hard. And then we have street families that have nowhere to go, and then we have people who are being evicted because they couldn't make rent because of all that type of stuff. And then amongst all other things that have become prevalent, homophobia has become prevalent, transphobia has become prevalent, and we're having people in the LGBTQ community being homeless just because, yeah, you see, idleness is a very dangerous thing, because now when people are not going to work and everything, people are now paying attention to things that don't necessarily concern them, and they're using that to project their frustration because of COVID-19 on people who are innocent and don't deserve to go through that. So there's all that. And for me, all this information, interacting with it, you interact with it on social media. And so the pros and cons of what social media has been during COVID-19, and I'll start with pros. Social media has been a place to seek solace. If you've curated your timeline in such a way that people are keen on sharing things like memes, people are keen on sharing, just happy stuff, motivational stuff, reads that are gonna stimulate your mind and everything, as opposed to making you frustrated and everything, then social media has played a huge role on that. Another thing that has played a huge role, another perspective in which social media has played a huge role, is that now people have embraced virtuality even more. And most of the time, we exploited virtual spaces from a perspective of no one knows I'm behind the keyboard. But COVID-19 has been able to merge being behind the keyboard and being seen still, because then people have valued the power of human interaction and everything. And that's why things like Zoom have become very prominent, because not only would you want to continue your work and everything, but COVID-19 has taken away the beauty of just going out and interacting with people and just being able to see people. People always underestimate simple things like that and how they contribute to our humanity and how they contribute to our being and everything. But COVID-19 has made us be able to see that and appreciate simple things like just little moments spending with people and just having conversation and everything. It has also brought a rise to things like Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives. I speak about those two because I know those have become very popular. It has seen Instagram, especially people holding conversation, because on Instagram you can be able to add people into your life and people can chat. So people have had panel discussions on Instagram. People have had engaging conversation on subjects even that sometimes have been rendered taboo subjects to talk about. I've seen people talking about them during COVID-19. I've seen people talking about sex and pleasure. I've seen people talking about masturbation. I've seen many lives where people are talking about very important things. I've seen media houses like BBC Africa do lives on issues to do with young people, the good things that young people are doing during COVID-19, the things that young people think need to change after COVID-19, the things that young people think the systems have to do better to conquer COVID-19 and its its effects on the people and everything. So social media has also been a beautiful platform to learn how different things are being done, to learn even how organizations are just putting themselves together and organizing and bringing people together. Another way in which social media has been amazing is that on Twitter, people have been having conversations left, right, and center. We've experienced panels speaking about, different issues and especially most importantly effects of COVID-19, where we are able to learn things like how has gender-based violence, for instance, risen because of COVID-19, and what are some of the ways in which we can deal with that. We've also been able to have a conversation of how to end things like homophobia, transphobia, and everything on social media. We recently, on 17th of May, we celebrated International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, Transphobia, intersex phobia, and all these types of phobia that people have against people in the LGBTQ plus community. And on that day, we saw conversation, since the theme was breaking the silence, we saw conversation on how people spoke about taboo subjects, especially in the queer community, be it, things like corrective rape, be it conversation like what really is homophobia, biphobia, transphobia, what can you do to become a better human being, knowingly or unknowingly, and not abuse people just because you feel like you are more in a privileged place. And so we've seen all that transpire on social media. I've seen graduations on social media. I've seen people celebrate their graduations on social media. I have friends who have graduated and were very excited to just have graduated. They would have loved to be there physically, but COVID-19 has left us with so minimal options, and so we have to utilize what is there. So I have seen that as well. But when it comes to the cons, I have seen a lot of social media bullying. I've seen a lot of people drag other people. I've seen people bring other people down. I have seen people attack each other. I've seen most of the time, all the time really, we've been speaking about body positivities and body shaming and everything. And it is during this period of COVID-19 that I've seen a lot of body shaming. And I don't like giving an excuse like I get people are frustrated because of COVID, because that's no excuse. Even no matter how much frustrated you are as an individual, it's no excuse for you to go attacking people over their bodies. And for one thing that I've been preaching on social media when it comes to people and their bodies is that nobody has a right to discuss about any other person's body unless they're invited to. Most of the time we end up frustrating people and bullying people and shaming people because of their bodies, because we feel entitled to comment on their bodies. But guess what? We all do not have a right to speak about other people's bodies unless they invite us to. And the invitation has to be verbalized. You have to be told, please let me know this, please let me know that. Not just seeing their picture online and feeling entitled to be able to speak about these people and to shame them just because of their body. Also, social media has seen very vast discussions on what is beautiful. The society has these standards that it has come up with, that if you meet them, then you meet the threshold of being a beautiful person, and if you're out of those, then you're not necessarily beautiful. And during this time of COVID, we've seen people appreciate people for who they are and everything, and understanding that beauty is a very personal thing and everything. But not only that, it has also seen people have those bold conversations and people addressing things that could easily be insecurities for people, and just addressing them and just normalizing the fact that we all are different, we all have different bodies. That doesn't take away from how beautiful a human being is. So I've seen all those things happening. I've seen negative things happening and I've seen positive things happening. Moving forward, I feel like we should pick important lessons when it comes to social media and how the things, now that we know what we know, we should pick the lessons and become better human beings in the sense that COVID-19 has proven that we can use social media for good. I've seen my friends, I've seen Asha Jaffa in Kibra and editor Ochieng in Kibra doing amazing work in terms of merging online and offline, where they reach out to people through social media, and these people are able to donate and contribute, and they've been able to feed thousands and thousands of people because of that. And that is really impressive. That is really, amazing. I've also used social media to be able to do that type of work. And for me, I always say I've always endeavored to just use social media as a platform for good, where I can be able to bring a lot of good out. I can be able to, create a platform where people can be able to feel safe enough to be their best self, the best version of themselves. And for me, that has been amazing. Social media has also taught me, and I'll tell you a little story time here while we are at it. There used to be a time, I've always been a nudist. Well, not always, it's something that I had to learn ever since, because I also struggled a lot with my body, and part of the struggle was because of what I was told my body should be. I was never given the information that is required. Oh, my legs. I was never given information that was required to be confident with my body. So for a long time, I was never really confident with my body. I hated my body. I looked at my body and I looked at what I thought was a beautiful body, and then I wished I had that and everything. And so I was very insecure about it. And going back to a time when I had just joined social media, while my account currently is, I think, 8 years old on Facebook. I had joined Facebook earlier than that, like 2 years before, I think, 3 years before. But I had to delete that initial account because I experienced body shaming on social media, where I used to post a lot of pictures. Then I was not confident enough to post nudes even, but it came as a shock to me when someone sent me a link and told me, is this you? Because I've been seeing your pictures making rounds, and there are many of those, and they're being used in social media sites, and people are saying, this person with your face on, of course, is trying to solicit money from people by telling them she loves them and everything, and then she sends them nudes, and when she sends nudes, then she gets money and everything. And it was really a trying time for me. And I was scared. I was really scared because I kept on thinking, how far has it gone and everything. And that probably prompted my journey of self-growth when it comes to me loving my body, me appreciating my body, and me just being able to say, fuck it, it's my body, I love it. I live in it. I know how it makes me feel good to live in it and everything. And basically all the things that I feel bad about are things that people say and not things that I experience with this body that I live in. And so that's where my journey started. And it went on and on. And I started this Facebook account that I have currently. And in this Facebook account, I have seen growth. I've seen times where I've come from a lot of insecurities. I used to have insecurities about my acne. Right now I'm having a terrible breakout. I know it doesn't show, but Yeah, I've been having a horrendous breakout. I've been trying to treat it, but yeah, it is what it is. But also, a lot of things are going on, so that could be contributing, because I know I'm having, whenever I have breakouts, I know I'm kind of falling into the pits of, depression and everything. But I'm dealing with that, so you don't have to worry about anything. But outside of that, I struggled with acne a lot, and I was scared, and I used to wear heavy makeup to just conceal everything that I don't want to be seen, because the society has taught people just because you have acne you're ugly. And best believe having acne is not ugly, because then that's just your body, and you can only do so much, but it's gonna react how it's gonna react, because that's what bodies do. They react the way that they do. And so it took me a while before I had confidence to just say, also, fuck it. This is my skin. This is my body. I'm not going to punish my skin with makeup every other day just because I think, and that also gave birth to a journey where I had to learn to appreciate makeup, not from a point of I'm punishing myself with makeup, but from a point where I can do makeup. It's a type of art. It's a type of expression. But going without makeup doesn't mean I'm lacking anything. It doesn't take away from how beautiful I am as an individual, and that's on that. And so there was that, and then learning that, and then eventually I started posting a bit of my pictures in the nude. And initially, when I used to do that, I used to be dragged a lot. I used to be bullied a lot. I mean, it's only last year that I posted some pictures of mine that I was nude, and I was bullied. My pictures were posted on Kilimani Moms. My pictures were posted I don't know where, talking about I'm seeking male gaze and male, attention and all that type of stuff. And I was like, oh well, clearly people have issues with themselves so much to think that's the reason I post. For me, each picture I post that is about my body is very deep and personal, because I've had so many struggles with my body. I never really knew how to appreciate my body until I had to go down that road deliberately to learn how to appreciate my body a bit more. And so all those things on social media, I can say one of the celebrations that I always have every day nowadays is that when I post a picture that is a nude picture, for instance, my fear is not that someone will drag me. My fear has reduced to people now looking at me sexually and everything. And of course, that is also a journey that I'm trying to travel, that if you don't normally comment on anything that I post on social media, but the day you see me posting a picture that I'm half naked, or I'm in the nude, is when you comment and say sexy and all that type of stuff. I can't help but think you're just thinking or looking at this sexually and everything. And while that's one of the ways in which people can look at you and everything, I agree, people don't get to do that because they've chosen to do that. Unless you invite people to do that, and that is never really my intention when I'm posting my pictures on social media. It's just to contribute to lessons where people have to appreciate who they are, regardless of what people say. It's me fighting those insecurities. It's me telling myself I've had so much about this body, and I'm still growing to love this body. And while I'm doing that, I need to be able to express everything with this body, because for the longest time I never thought that anything beautiful can come out of this body. I looked at this body as a waste of time. I looked at this body as something that can't have anything good come out of it. But it has taken a journey for me to be able to get on the flip side of it, where now I appreciate my body more. I know my body is capable of a lot. I never forget to thank it, because everywhere I go, everything that I do, thanks to this body, it coordinated, it participated, it allowed me to do all those things. And so I've learned how to appreciate this body in many perspectives, really, in terms of even just realizing that my body can be a source of something good, can be a source of pleasure, it can be a source of an array of amazing things, as opposed to looking at it from a perspective where it's not worth much just because people said so. So social media has been all that. It has been a platform where I've done a lot of growth as an individual, and I've taken it in strides, and I've just said I'm gonna go and keep going and keep going until such a day that I can look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, yes, this is it. We have arrived. Even though we say never arrive, I look forward to a day where I'll say, yeah, I'm finally here. I'm finally here. And so, yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about today, and how probably to just call on you to be that advocate of doing good on social media. And doing good is as little as thinking before you post that negative something to someone's comment just because you think you can. And I understand a platform where people are doing things like on memes, light notes, and everything. I understand all that. Keep doing that because it makes us laugh and it makes our days easier during this trying pandemic time. And so keep doing that. But outside of that, do not attack someone just because you feel like you're behind the keyboard. You're more powerful when you're visible than when you're behind the keyboard. Let me tell you that keyboard will give you power to insult people and abuse people, but your true power is in when you are there in person. And that's why I normally say, if you can't say something to a person while you're looking at them, don't say it to them while you're typing it, because it doesn't make sense. It shows your levels of kindness, it shows your levels of insecurity, it shows how you don't even believe in yourself as an individual, and you're projecting it to a person who has done nothing to hurt you. So let's make that vow to be better people, to interact in a more rewarding way on social media, interact in a way that makes other people feel good about themselves. We all need people to hold space for us. We all need people to make us feel good about ourselves. We all need to see people doing good so that we can learn how much good we can also do as individuals. And so be that do-gooder, be that person who holds space for people, be that person who is just nothing but kindness on social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new here, please remember to subscribe. I really beg you to subscribe. If you're not new here, thank you so much for stopping by again. Remember to share with your friends and let people learn whatever it is that they'll pick from here. And if there's something you'd want me to, say for instance, improve on my content, or you'd want me to change, or you'd want me to do, remember to comment down below and tell me, and I'll be happy to be able to have a conversation about that. Remember to be kind to one another. We need it during this time, but most importantly, remember to be kind to yourself. Until next time, do you have yourself a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night from whatever part of the world that you're watching. Cheers.